Sophie's World was written by Jostein Gaarder, a Norwegian author and former teacher. The book came out in 1991 and became very popular around the world. Gaarder used to teach philosophy in schools, and he wrote this story to make big ideas about life and thinking easy for young people to understand. The novel mixes a simple tale with lessons about philosophers from history, like Socrates and Kant. It happens in Norway in the 1990s and follows a teenage girl who starts asking questions about the world. The book looks at ideas like where we come from, what reality is, and why we exist, all in a way that feels like an adventure. The story begins with Sophie Amundsen, a 14-year-old girl who lives with her parents in a small Norwegian town. One day, she comes home from school and finds a strange letter in her mailbox. It has no name, just two questions. Who are you? And where does the world come from? Sophie feels confused but curious. She doesn't know who sent it. Soon, another letter arrives with more questions and a note saying she'll take a philosophy course by mail. Sophie likes the idea. She starts waiting for these letters every day. A few days later, a big package comes. It's full of pages about philosophy, written by someone named Alberto Knox. He says he'll be her teacher. Sophie learns about old Greek thinkers like Socrates, who asked people questions to make them think, and Plato, who believed in a perfect world of ideas. Alberto writes in a simple way, so Sophie understands. She enjoys reading by the lake near her house or in her room. She starts asking herself big questions, like why she's alive and what the universe is made of. Sophie's life changes with these lessons. She meets Alberto in person one day. He's an older man with a beard, wearing funny clothes like a cape. They sit in a church and talk about history's big thinkers. Alberto tells her about the Middle Ages, when people like St. Augustine mixed religion with philosophy, and the Renaissance, when thinkers like Galileo studied the stars. Sophie feels excited but sometimes lost. The ideas are new and strange. She tells her mom about the course, but her mom thinks it's odd and worries a little. As the lessons go on, strange things happen. Sophie finds a postcard meant for Hilde Meller-Knag, a girl she doesn't know. It says, "Happy birthday, Hilde," and is signed by Hilde's dad, Albert Knag, who's away working. Sophie feels puzzled. Why is this in her mailbox? Alberto says it's a mystery they'll solve later. More P. Forost cards for Hilde show up, talking about her dad's travels. Sophie wonders if Hilde is real. She keeps reading Alberto's lessons, learning about thinkers like Descartes, who said, "I think, therefore I am," and Kant, who explained how we see the world through our minds. One day, Sophie and Alberto meet at his house. It's full of books and old things. He tells her about modern philosophy, like Marx, who cared about workers, and Freud, who studied dreams. Sophie likes these ideas, but the Hilde mystery grows bigger. She finds a red scarf with Hilde's name on it in her room. She didn't put it there. Alberto thinks it's connected to Hilde's dad, Albert Knag. They guess he might be playing a trick or testing them. Sophie feels a bit scared, but wants to know more. The story takes a big turn on Sophie's 15th birthday. She throws a party in her garden with friends. Alberto comes too. Suddenly, weird things happen. Food floats, a boy walks on water, and the weather changes fast. Sophie's friends laugh, but she and Alberto feel nervous. He says reality is acting strange, like they're not in control. At the party, Sophie gets another letter for Hilde. It says Hilde's dad, Albert, wrote a book called Sophie's World as a gift for her birthday. Sophie feels shocked. She asks Alberto if they're just characters in Albert's story. Alberto agrees it's possible. He says Albert Knag might be a writer who made them up. Sophie doesn't like this idea. She wants to be real, not a character. They talk about philosophers like Berkeley, who said everything might just be in someone's mind. Sophie feels trapped. She and Alberto decide to fight back. They plan to confuse Albert Knag by doing unexpected things, like making up wild events at the party. Sophie hopes this will prove they're free, not just part of his book. The plan gets complicated. Hilde herself appears in the story, but not in person. Sophie reads about Hilde waking up on her own birthday, far away, getting Sophie's World as a gift from her dad. Hilde is 15 too, and she lives in Norway with her mom. She starts reading about Sophie and feels surprised. Hilda wonders if Sophie is real or just her dad's idea. She gets mad at her dad for controlling Sophie's life. Sophie, meanwhile, keeps finding Hilda's things, like a gold cross, in her own world. It's like their lives are mixing. Sophie and Alberto push harder to escape. They make more strange things happen, like a storm at the party. Hilda reads this and tells her dad to stop. Albert Nag, back home now, laughs and says it's just a story. But Sophie and Alberto keep going. They run away from the party into the woods. Suddenly, they feel free. Hilda can't see them anymore. Alberto says they've slipped out of Albert's book. Sophie feels happy but unsure. Are they real now, or still part of something bigger? The story ends with questions. Hilda finishes the book and talks to her dad. She wonders about Sophie's fate. Sophie and Alberto stay in their world, walking by the lake, talking about philosophy. They can't touch things like food or houses anymore, but they feel alive in a new way. Sophie thinks about all she's learned, Socrates, Kant, and more. She still asks, who am I and where am I from? The book doesn't give easy answers, but it makes her happy to keep asking. Sophie's world is about Sophie Amundsen learning philosophy from a strange teacher, Alberto Knox, while odd things happen around her. She gets letters about big thinkers, meets Alberto, and finds messages for another girl, Hilda. Soon she learns she might be a character in a book written by Hilda's dad, Albert Nag. Sophie fights to be free, making her world crazy to escape his control. Hilda reads about Sophie and questions her dad too. In the end, Sophie breaks free, but still wonders what's real. The story mixes adventure with lessons about philosophy, showing how people have thought about life for thousands of years. It looks at big ideas like reality, freedom, and who we are, all in a simple way. People like this book because it makes hard questions fun and easy to think about, like a puzzle that never fully ends.